my humble little corner of the universe. Oh, let me get my mic set. Okay, so today you'll be joining me on my reflections, so let me just get some art to decorate space and some music to decorate the time. Well, now if you sit with a question for long enough, it starts to unravel. Let's tug on a thread, and before you know it, the whole sweater of your identity is just gone. I mean, philosophy is just one big hunch. I think of the sculpture of the thinker going, I don't know, man, I had this thought, but I guess it's just a hunch. Thank you, Auguste Rodin. When I was told to answer the question, what makes up me, I would think of my soul and its past and existing life and how it has a nature of unchanging and rebirth based on karma. I think also then the consciousness is then a vessel for the soul, and then our brain is then a vessel for our personality and mind. But then is our flesh and body just the means of outputting this? I mean, we're just sinking into existential quicksand, as Paul Tillich said, that the inmost self escapes inspection because it's always the inspector. I think if you were to compare me now to who I was a couple of years ago, you wouldn't find as much awareness or introspection. Whereas now I feel like I know I'm on the conveyor belt of existence, where back then I didn't know there was a conveyor belt. A few weeks before university, I had this conversation with my friend that cracked my skull open in the best way possible. We reinforced this idea that every organism, every animal, every plant on this earth is experiencing reality in some kind of beautiful, mystical way in their own world. When we stare into a microscope and see all these little microorganisms vibing out in their own tiny little world, and we see ants carrying along crumbs like tiny weightlifters, there's this undeniable similarity between how we contribute, exist, and thrive. And if you zoom out far enough, humans are really just another biological ripple in this great soup of existence. The idea of a collective consciousness, I guess, really excites me. This oneness, the idea that the universe is playing hide and seek with itself. I mean, Alan Watts spoke about it. He talked about hide and seek, how God plays hide and seek with himself. I mean, in Hindu traditions, they've got the god Brahman, who created the god Lila, who split him into infinite pieces and said the game is to try find yourself. What the hell? Where am I? I think I'm going to preface the mind-body problem with something major. It's not so much a problem when looked at through the eyes of Vedanta philosophy, with the principality of non-duality taken to represent the dimension in which explicit differences infer implicit unity, leaving the realm of life that has a series of urgent choices. The Upanishads in Hindu religion said it's not easy to maintain correlative vision. They describe it as the path of the razor's edge, a balancing act on the sharpest and thinnest of lines. For ordinary vision, there is nothing visible between classes and opposites, like mind and body. Is it possible that myself, my existence, so contains being and nothing, and that death is merely the off interval in an on and off pulsation, which must be eternal because every alternative in this pulsation would in due course imply its presence? Is it conceivable then that I am basically an external existence, momentarily and perhaps needlessly terrified by one half of itself because it has identified all of itself with the other half, the alive half? But if the choice were either white or black, must I commit myself to the white side and not be a good sport and actually play the game of black and white, with the implicit knowledge that neither can win? I mean, you were dead before you were alive, weren't you? That in the words of some Chinese Zen master and some ultimate hippie, they said nothing is left to you at this moment but to have a good laugh. I think true humor is indeed a laughter at one's self, that fabulous deception whereby one comes to imagine that a creature in existence is not also of existence. I mean, this is you right now. I mean, does that make any sense? Each person in the world is a product of pinball slaps being knocked from place to place, and upon discovering that determinism is much deeper than the word entails, people will say, wow, what a secret I've been let in on, but why do I feel like such a fraud? Looking at the trajectory of your life, and the recurring patterns, this idea of free will is like the shadow of a shadow. Let's say my friend is giving me an option of 3 different types of pens I could use to draw. Before he lets me choose, I've already got an idea of which one I want. So Kant describes how our minds can only grasp phenomena, not noumena. The noumenal realm is beyond our capacity for direct knowledge or experience. Human beings are also noumenal beings, and I think we do possess a capacity for free will and moral agency, but humans also make approximately 35,000 decisions a day, most of these being subconscious with almost a total lack of control.
What do you want for dinner?
Pesto pasta. And to be free is to be in control of your movements.